There is a sentence I have heard for many years, from ambitious young people to those who have nearly reached the end of their lives. I don't have enough time. They say it in a very familiar tone, not an angry tone, nor a desperate tone, but a tone of acceptance. Acceptance that life just flows by that quickly. Acceptance that today is busy, tomorrow is also busy. And then one day they wake up and ask themselves, where did my time go? I have thought a great deal about this. Time is like a river. It flows steadily for everyone, rich or poor, intelligent or average, disciplined or careless. That river never stops. But what determines your destiny is not the speed of the current, it is the boat you are sitting in. Many people blame the river, but very few are willing to look back at their own boat. During many years of standing on stage, I have met people who work hard to the point of exhaustion. Their schedules are packed. Their days have no empty space left. Yet year after year, their lives hardly change. Their income does not increase. Freedom does not arrive, and satisfaction drifts further away with each passing day. That was when I realized something very important. The problem is not how much time you have. The problem is who you are becoming within that time. You cannot manage time. No one can. But you can absolutely master yourself as time passes. This video is not for those who are looking for a few quick tips to get more done in a day. It is for those who are brave enough to ask a deeper question. Why isn't my time bringing me the life I desire? Today, I want to share with you principles that have been tested, not loud, not flashy, but powerful enough to change the way you see time discipline in your own life. Because when you truly master your time, you will realize that what you are mastering is not just each hour of the day, but the direction of your entire life. The first principle, time obeys priority, not desire. Imagine you are preparing for a long trip. You have a suitcase, not large, not small, but limited. You stand in front of that suitcase with many things in your hands. Some important, some interesting, and many things that would be nice to have. What will happen? You cannot take everything. And if you pack the less important things first, you will have no room left for what truly matters. Life operates exactly the same way. Your time each day is like that suitcase. 24 hours, no more, no less, no negotiation, no asking for more. And what determines the quality of your life is not how many things you want to do, but what you put in first. Many people tell me, I truly want to read books. I want to spend time with my family. I want to take care of my health. I want to build a better life. But desire does not determine your schedule. Priority does. I have observed this for many decades. Not in lazy people, but in extremely hardworking individuals. They wake up early. They work all day. They are exhausted when night falls. Yet when they look back at a year that has passed, they cannot point to any clear step forward in their lives. The problem is not that they lack motivation. The problem is that everything is a priority, and in the end, nothing is a priority at all. Time always obeys what you place at the top, not what you say out loud, not what you promise yourself at the beginning of the year, but what you actually allow to occupy space in your day. Look at a person's schedule. You do not need to hear them speak. Their schedule will say it all. If someone says family is important, but there is no fixed block of time dedicated to family, that is not a life value. It is just a beautiful statement. If someone says personal growth is a priority, but there is not a single hour in the week devoted to learning and reflection, that is not a goal. It is a vague desire. Time does not betray anyone. It simply reflects the truth. I have met salaried employees with modest pay and significant responsibilities. They told me they did not have time to change their lives. But when we sat down together, I saw that each of their days was consumed by things that created no lasting value, not because they were foolish, but because they had never learned how to set intentional priorities. It is the same as money. If each month you earn $2,000, but you spend without order, without purpose, then at the end of the month you will ask yourself, where did my money go? Time is the same. If you spend each hour without knowing what you are investing in, you will end the year with the same question, but more painfully. I learned this very early. Each hour you use is a vote. You are voting for the person you will become in the future. 1 hour of reading votes for intelligence. 1 hour of training votes for health. 1 hour of serious reflection on life votes for wisdom. And conversely, each hour wasted unconsciously is also casting a vote for an unintentional future. I do not say this to make you feel guilty. I say this to wake you up. Because the moment you understand that time does not obey desire, but obeys priority, you reclaim control of your life. I had to learn this lesson slowly. I once thought that if I simply worked harder, opportunities would come. But then I realized, If I do not proactively place the important things into my schedule first, then the urgent but unimportant things will always take up space. And do you know what never appears by accident? A meaningful life, enduring health, a deep relationship, a person who matures from within. All of those things require space within time. And that space only appears when you dare to say no to lesser things. I want you to ask yourself one question, slowly, honestly. If my time continues to pass exactly as it is now, who will I become in 5 years? That question does not need an immediate answer, but it will stay with you. Because the moment you change your priorities, time, which seems impossible to control, will begin to change its attitude toward you. And from that point on, so will your life. When priorities are clear, the next question is no longer what do I want to do, but do I have enough discipline to protect those priorities or not? Principle 2, you don't drift into discipline. There is a quiet law that governs almost every life, yet very few people recognize it until it is too late. No one accidentally becomes disciplined. No one wakes up one morning and suddenly lives in an orderly, clear, purposeful way. No one drifts through the years and unexpectedly becomes a person who masters themselves. The opposite, however, does happen. People drift into procrastination. People drift into easy habits. People drift into a busy life that goes nowhere. Imagine a boat out at sea. Without a rudder, without someone steering it, that boat will not stay still. It will drift, slowly, quietly, and often far from where it was meant to go. Human life is the same. You do not have to do anything wrong for your life to decline. You simply have to lack the discipline to keep it rising. Many people confuse desire with discipline. They think that wanting something badly enough will automatically change everything. But desire is an emotion, and emotions change every day. Discipline is different. Discipline is a decision repeated, even when you have no emotion supporting it. I have met people who told me, I know this is important. I understand this is necessary. I completely agree with what you're saying, yet their lives remained unchanged. Because understanding does not create discipline. Only intentional action does. You see, once priorities are clear, the next question is no longer what should I do? The question becomes, do I have enough discipline to protect that from life's distractions? Life is always offering very appealing invitations. You can do less. You can deal with it tomorrow. You're tired today. It's okay to rest a little. Those invitations are not loud. They speak very softly. And that is why they are dangerous. I have witnessed this in many ordinary people. A student knows that studying consistently each day will change their future, but waits until the last minute. An employee knows that personal development is the only path to going further, but is always too busy. An adult knows that health is the foundation of all success, but promises to start next week. That next week often never comes. Discipline is not about doing grand things. Discipline is about doing small things, on time, even when you do not feel like it. I learned this lesson not from books, but from observing life. I saw that people with lasting success are not always smarter, but they share one common trait. They do not negotiate with their own principles. They do not ask, do I feel inspired today? They ask, does this align with the person I am building? And they act according to that answer. On the other hand, people without discipline are often very skilled at making excuses. The excuses sound reasonable. The excuses sound humane. But in the end, excuses are simply a way to justify losing control. I once said, we all must endure one of two pains, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. The difference is, discipline weighs ounces, while regret weighs tons. Discipline may make you uncomfortable today, but a lack of discipline will break your heart for many years. Look at the people you admire, not because they are famous, but because they are steady. You will always find behind that life habits no one sees. Small decisions repeated, quiet no's spoken consistently. Discipline does not make your life smaller. It makes your life clearer. It prevents you from using willpower on trivial matters. It creates a structure strong enough that you are not swept away every time your emotions change. And most importantly, it turns priorities into reality, not just intention. I want you to understand this deeply. If you do not establish discipline in your life, life will establish limits for you. Limits on income, limits on choices, limits on the person you can become. Discipline is not punishment. It is freedom paid in advance. I have seen this repeated again and again. Those who are willing to work diligently on small things every day eventually live lighter lives. Those who constantly seek the easy path eventually carry a much heavier life. Ask yourself, without answering to anyone, What in my life is drifting away simply because I lack the discipline to hold on to it? That question is not meant to frighten you. It is meant to remind you that you still have a choice. Because the moment you understand that you cannot drift into discipline, you begin to step intentionally. And when you step intentionally, life will no longer so easily carry you away. When discipline begins to form, the next danger is not a major failure, but small wastes that seem harmless. Principle 3. Small wastes create big regrets. There is something very strange about the way people view life. We fear big mistakes. We are cautious about big decisions. Yet, we are completely indifferent to small wastes. And that indifference is what quietly destroys the lives of many people the most. Imagine a large ship crossing the ocean. It does not sink because of one small wave. It sinks because of a small leak, ignored day after day. The water does not rush in all at once. It seeps in, slowly, gently. And by the time people realize it, the ship is too heavy to save. Life is the same. No one loses their future because of a single terrible decision. People lose it because of hundreds of small choices that go unnoticed. 10 minutes here, 20 minutes there. One evening just to rest. One day not doing anything important. And then a year passes. I have met many people as they stood before me, their eyes mixed with surprise and regret. They did not understand why time had passed so quickly. They did not understand why they had been busy for so many years, yet their lives remained stuck in place. They did not realize that. Time is rarely stolen. It usually leaks. And the most dangerous thing about a leak is that it does not cause pain immediately. If you waste $1 a day, you will not feel anything. But after many years, you will ask why you never achieved financial freedom. If you waste 1 hour a day, you will not panic. But after many years, you will ask why your dream still exists only on paper. I once told people, success does not require you to do extraordinary things. It requires you to avoid prolonged mediocrity. That mediocrity is often cleverly disguised. It looks like comfort. It wears the cloak of, I deserve a break. It whispers, just this once. But just this once, repeated long enough, becomes a life. I have observed this in people very close to me. A smart student who skips an extra 30 minutes of study each day, thinking it makes no difference. A hardworking employee who always postpones personal development because they feel too tired. An adult who clearly knows health is important, but trades it away little by little for convenience. None of them intended to ruin their lives. They simply underestimated the power of small choices. Life is not decided in dramatic moments. It is decided in moments when you think no one is watching. Each night you choose what to do with your final hour. Each morning you choose how to begin. Each time you choose to think seriously, or let everything drift by. Those moments do not make headlines. No one applauds, but they leave a very deep mark. I remember once speaking with a middle-aged man. He told me, if I could go back, I wouldn't change the big decisions. I would change how I used my ordinary days. That statement stayed with me for a long time. Because regret rarely comes from big mistakes. Regret comes from the question, why didn't I do better when I absolutely could have? You see, when you lack discipline, you drift. But when you already have some discipline, the next danger is not collapse. The danger is complacency. Complacency makes you think. A little waste doesn't matter. I've already tried. It's life. You can't be serious all the time. And so small leaks begin to appear. I am not saying you should never rest. Intentional rest is necessary. But there is a very big difference between resting to renew yourself and wasting time unconsciously. One makes you stronger. The other makes you weaker very slowly, but very surely. I have learned that. People who live well are not those who never waste anything. They are those who recognize waste very early. They do not wait until a year has passed to ask what happened. They ask that question every day. They do not allow small deviations to last long enough to become destiny. I want you to pause for a moment and ask yourself, without answering to anyone, is there any leak in how I use my time that I already know about but deliberately ignore? That question is not meant to make you anxious. It is meant to give you the power to fix things while they are still small. Because the wonderful thing about time is, when you stop small waste, you do not just save a day, you save an entire future. People who change their lives rarely do so with giant leaps. They do it by patching small leaks, one by one, until their ship is strong enough to go far. And when you begin to respect each small hour, each seemingly insignificant moment, you will realize that life does not require you to do more. It only requires you not to waste what you already have. When you stop small waste, you begin to see something more clearly. Your schedule is not just time. It is a mirror reflecting your values. Principle 4. Your calendar reveals your values. There is a very simple way to understand a person, and it is more accurate than anything they say. Do not ask them what they believe. Do not ask them what they prioritize. Look at their calendar, because a calendar does not know how to lie. You can say that family is the most important thing. You can say that personal growth is the foundation of success. You can say that health, freedom, and the long-term future are worth cherishing. But when I look at your calendar, I will know what truly comes first. Time is the fairest resource in the world. Everyone has 24 hours. But how each person allocates those 24 hours is their silent declaration of values. Your calendar is like a wordless journal. It records what you have said yes to, and more importantly, what you have said no to. Many people live in a prolonged contradiction. They believe one thing but live another. They feel uneasy without understanding why. In truth, that unease comes from inner values not being protected by real time. I have met people who said they wanted a good marriage, but in their calendar there was not a single fixed block of time dedicated to connection. Everything was when there's time. And you know, when there's time is usually never. I have also met people who said they wanted to learn, to grow, to increase their value. But their calendars were filled only with other people's urgent tasks. Not a single hour in the week was set aside for reflection, reading, or intentional learning. And then they wondered why they felt left behind. Not because they lacked ability, but because their values had no place in their calendar. You see, the world does not attack you with big decisions. It encroaches on you with small, urgent, noisy tasks. And if you do not intentionally put your values into your calendar first, your calendar will be filled with other people's priorities. I learned this through years of observation. People who live with depth do not necessarily have empty schedules. On the contrary, they are often very busy. But their calendars have order. There are blocks of time that are strictly protected, not out of pressure, but out of respect. Respect for what? Respect for the person they are building. A calendar is not just a tool for organizing tasks. A calendar is a defense system for your values. If you do not protect your values with specific time, then those values exist only in words. And the difference between a meaningful life and an exhausting one often lies right here. I once said, what you do not schedule, you are planning to lose. Not because you are bad, not because you are lazy, but because life has inertia. It always pulls you toward what is easier, closer, and requires less thought. Think about this. If someone says health is important, but their calendar has no space for movement, true rest, or self-care, then that value is being betrayed every day. If someone says their financial future matters, but no time is devoted to learning, improving skills, or long-term thinking, then they are leaving their future to figure itself out. And figure itself out rarely leads to good outcomes. Your calendar does not need to be perfect, but it needs to be honest. It must reflect the person you want to become, not just the tasks you are pulled into doing. I have seen people change their lives not by doing more, but by moving small blocks of time. They take 1 hour from distraction and place it where value exists. They take 1 evening from an old habit and give it to growth. Those changes look very modest, but they create alignment between belief and action. And when belief and action align, life begins to feel less tense. You no longer have to convince yourself every day. Your calendar does it for you. I want you to ask yourself, slowly, if a stranger looked at my calendar over the past 30 days, what would they conclude I value most? That question is not comfortable, but it is honest, because you cannot claim to value something if you do not give it time. And you cannot expect life to respect values that you yourself do not protect. When your calendar begins to truly reflect your values, you will feel a strange kind of peace, not because everything becomes easier, but because you know you are moving in the right direction day by day. And that is when you realize your calendar does not just organize time, it organizes your life. When your values are protected in your calendar, the final thing to understand is the two-way relationship. How you respect time is how life will respond to you. Principle 5. Respect time, and life will respect you back. There is a very fair relationship that few people notice. Life treats you exactly the way you treat your time. Not immediately, not loudly, not with a ringing bell, but it always happens. If you treat time as something that can be filled with anything, life will become chaotic. If you treat time as something that can be postponed, life will learn to postpone you. And if you treat time as something worthy of respect and protection, life will gradually open doors worthy of you. I have observed this for many years. People who respect time are not necessarily in a rush. They do not live in constant tension. On the contrary, they are often very calm because they do not let life drag them around. They move with rhythm. Respecting time is not about moving faster. It is about moving in the right direction and moving consistently. Many people think they need more time to live better, but the truth is, they need to change how they treat the time they already have. Time does not demand perfection from you. It only demands honesty. Honesty about what? Honesty about what you are investing in. Honesty about what you are postponing. Honesty about how you are trading your future for present convenience. I once said, how you use 1 hour reveals how you use your entire life. You may not see the consequences today, but life is a slow feedback system. It keeps careful records, and at some point, it responds. When you respect time, you begin doing small things properly and on time. You arrive earlier. You prepare more thoroughly. You keep promises to yourself, even when no one is checking. Those things seem ordinary, but they create an invisible credibility. That credibility is not only with other people, it is with life. Life seems to say, this person is reliable, and then it entrusts you with more responsibility, more choices, more space to grow. On the other hand, when you consistently take time lightly, you send a very different message. You say that promises are negotiable, that discipline is optional, that the future can wait, and life learns to treat you that way. Opportunities come and go. Doors open only briefly, and you often arrive late. I do not say this to frighten you. I say this to return power to you. Because the moment you begin to respect time, you are telling life, I am ready to take responsibility. Responsibility for ordinary mornings. Responsibility for unseen hours. Responsibility for the person you are quietly becoming. I have observed people who built lives worthy of respect. They did nothing overly spectacular, but they did one thing very consistently. They did not take small things lightly. They did not postpone what was worth doing. They did not misuse time with the thought that there is plenty. Time is the only thing that never returns. And for that very reason, it teaches you a profound lesson about presence. When you respect time, you live more consciously. You listen better. You think more carefully. You do not rush to chase things that do not belong to you. And then something very interesting happens. Life becomes less chaotic. Not because problems disappear, but because you no longer panic in front of them. You have built a rhythm of living in which time works with you, not against you. I want you to understand this deeply. Respecting time does not take away your freedom. It gives you freedom. Freedom from always feeling late. Freedom from guilt toward yourself. Freedom from the fear that you are missing something important. Because when you live intentionally, you do not miss out. You choose. And choice is the mark of a mature person. I once said, life rewards those who know how to wait, but only if they do the right things while waiting. Respecting time is doing the right things in the spaces no one notices. It is how you prepare for opportunities that have not yet appeared. It is a quiet commitment that you will not waste the most precious gift you have been given. Pause for a moment and ask yourself not to blame, but to orient yourself. If life treated me exactly the way I am treating my time, would I be satisfied with the result? That question is not meant to create pressure. It is meant to open a door, because you do not have to change everything. You only need to begin respecting time a little more each day. And when you do, you will realize something very reassuring. Life is not against you. It is simply waiting for you to become worthy. When you respect time, you are not just organizing your days, you are shaping your destiny. And that is where all these principles converge. When you look back at the entire journey we have just taken, there is a quiet thread connecting every principle. Time never changes your life. How you treat time does. Not because you lack hours in the day, not because the world is more unfair to you, but because every day you are voting for a certain person, and that vote is how you use your time. You have seen that time obeys priority, not desire. You have understood that discipline never arrives by accident. You have realized that small wastes, if ignored, accumulate into big regrets. You have also seen that your calendar does not just organize tasks, it exposes your true values. And finally, you understand a very fair relationship. When you respect time, life will begin to respect you. All of this is not here to pressure you. It is here to give you choice. Because the moment you change how you view time, you change how you view yourself. And when your thinking changes, life, even if slowly, will follow. You do not have to turn your life upside down tomorrow. You only need to begin with one small decision. Treat time as if it truly matters. Because it does. If you feel these reflections resonate with you, I invite you to press like, subscribe, and share this video, not as an act of supporting the channel, but as a quiet commitment that you want to walk the path of living more intentionally each day. And I want to ask you one question, leave it in the comments. If you respected your time more starting today, what is the first thing in your life that would change? I will close with a philosophy I have always believed in. Life does not get better just because you wish it to. It gets better when you become better. And the path to becoming better begins with how you live in each small hour. I truly appreciate that you stayed until the end of this video.